Okay, yeah, so this time in particular, we're going to talk about one of the Microsoft applications, which is best used for presentation. Okay, so let's talk about Microsoft PowerPoint. So, PowerPoint allows users to create presentations on a slide by slide basis. PowerPoint presentations can also be used to create Jeopardy games, flashcards, and more. But most of the times, we use PowerPoint presentation to conduct our lesson, probably seminars, webinars like this. Okay, or if we have like a research, a presentation, something like that. Okay, so this time around, we are going to talk about not would be the every functions of every buttons we can find or available in PowerPoint, but more of how we could effectively use PowerPoint in making sophisticated presentation, right? And this also talks about an effective way of presenting your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so let us start. I have, by the way, prepared. Okay, here. All right. So let's talk about creating an effective PowerPoint presentation. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about what is PowerPoint. So a PowerPoint, PPT, it is the abbreviation of the PowerPoint. It is a software tool by Microsoft. Presents information in slideshow format. Unlike any other Microsoft application, this is the only application which is very effective in presentation of information. For example, you are to discuss a lesson, right? This is actually way more convenient than using any other Microsoft application, right? And it also offers text, graphics, sound effects, and video. So basically, when you want to insert something, so Microsoft PowerPoint isn't just limited to text. It can also, or you can also insert sound effects, videos if you want to. Okay. Now, hints for a successful presentation. First, you need to plan carefully. Like, you really need to plan very carefully on how the presentation should look like or should take place. Okay. But in most cases, if you're really used to in doing presentation, it will just take like about maybe 5 minutes for you to prepare for your presentation, right? Now, second one is you need to do your research. Okay, so probably when you are to present something like a certain topic, okay, every resources has to be exhausted. So your presentation will become more comprehensive. And of course, it should be relative though. And also, you should know your audience. For example, you can't discuss programming to nursing students, right? Or you can't discuss the English language using the Filipino language, right? So, what I mean by that is that in order for you to effectively deliver your presentation, you should always know your audience, right? Well, what type of audience are they? Okay, what are their interests? Okay, so also at the same time, you should know what type of audience are they. If they if they're the type of audiences that that wants a very simple presentation, or if your audiences are businessmen, if your audience are children, yet it might vary. Okay, so the fourth one is the time of presentation. What I mean with that is that when you are to present something, okay, you should set a certain time or a duration as to how when the presentation ends. Okay. It is because an effective presentation comes with effective delivery within a certain period of time. Because if it gets too long, it becomes, boring. I mean, it may depend, but most of the times it becomes boring, right? And then you should also practice your presentation. In most cases, if you're really used to, and if you are someone who can be called as professional in presenting PowerPoint, I guess it will just take for you to review your presentation, right? But I still highly recommend and suggest that you practice your presentation, especially if it's very important, like you're trying to present, let's just say, a report, an executive report, a business proposal, defense, capstone, thesis. Okay, so if those are the degree of your presentation, I strongly suggest you practice your presentation as if your audiences are there in front of you listening. Okay, and then the last one, you need to speak comfortably and clearly. We might sometimes get pressured depending on who are listening to us. But then again, I want you to always remember that it is you who prepared the presentation, and it is you who knows more about your presentation. The audiences are there. It is because they need to be educated, like they are your listeners. So basically, they don't have any idea about what you are going to present. Okay, so next, let's talk about effective PowerPoint slides. Wow, this is actually nice. We will not gonna talk about every part of the Microsoft PowerPoint, but I'm gonna highlight a few points which you can effectively use, especially in Office 365. Okay. First of all, let's talk about use design templates. Okay. Now, let's try to pull up Microsoft PowerPoint so you would definitely have an idea. So from here, let's go ahead and open PowerPoint here and then hit open. Okay, there we go. So this is how it looks like when you try to pull up Microsoft PowerPoint. If you try to notice, most parts for all Microsoft applications looks exactly the same. Okay, like this. You have the home, you have new, and you have open. But most of us, when we tend to create Microsoft PowerPoint, we tend to start with a blank presentation. Right? This is what we usually use. Okay, but we don't sometimes, take the opportunity of using templated presentations built in a Microsoft PowerPoint. So, for example, here, let's click on new. And then here you will find a lot of templated or pre-templated presentations, right? You have here an outline if you wanted to start an outline. Here you have geometric color block. You have urban monochrome, animal. Yeah, you have animal magnetism. I like this dog. You also have earthy inspiration. You have floral. Fruits, I guess. Yeah, oh, wow, orange burst. Yeah, and actually a lot more. The problem is, if we are catching time, we tend to forget to maximize this functionality that PowerPoint gives us. Okay, so if you're in a hurry, I suggest you go on creating your Microsoft PowerPoint presentation using templates and themes, right? If you have internet connection, if you're connected to the internet, you can definitely go ahead and search for an existing templates, or you can go to the web and download a specific template from some websites. Okay, so that can be possible too, right? All you need to do is just to download the existing PowerPoint presentation, and then you go ahead and then open it up. But for the sake of this webinar, we are going to start from the scratch. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and pull up a blank presentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on blank presentation. So normally this would appear, right? And if you happen to notice, everything is all white. That's how, or that is the default landing page of the Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, right? Now, I know most of you guys already know everything, most of the things here in Microsoft. Okay, I mean Microsoft PowerPoint. What I would like to highlight is to how we could effectively make a very comprehensive presentation. Okay, as discussed earlier. Okay, um, so let's go ahead and create a very simple presentation. Okay, so maybe our topic would be about, let's just say, fruits. Okay, let's talk about fruits. Fruits. Wow. Okay, I guess everybody likes fruits, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and start with this topic, fruits. So as by default, and as you notice, when you pull up or when you create a blank presentation, this default slide pops in. This is the title slide, and the title slide composes of the title itself and the subtitle. Okay, now when you try to bring this down, okay, there will be a lot of 9 options, but you may modify a slide the way you've wanted, but as by default there are 9. You have the you have the title slide here, you have the title and the content, you have the section header, to content, comparison, title, blank, you have the content with caption and picture with caption. Most of us actually, most of us, our habit is we tend to create a text box, and then we put in something inside it, right? But to make our lives easier, I suggest you use each of these, right? So in every PowerPoint presentation, it always starts with this one, a title slide. Okay, so just like Microsoft Word, it follows hierarchy. Okay, it follows the title, it follows the heading, subheading, the body, and everything, right? So if we would like to talk about fruits, okay, we would like to have the title as fruits. Okay, and then let's put here maybe the name of the the author or the the presenter. So let's say let's just say Anna. Okay, by Anna, right? So if you happen to note this, okay, this is just very, very flat, nothing fancy of it, right? Now what I would like to do is I would like to put some design on it, right? So most people, what we normally do is we try to go here on design and then select on whatever kind of template or pre-formatted template you've wanted, right? There's actually a lot, right? And if you notice, whenever you hover on that certain template, it changes. Okay, but in most Microsoft Office, especially with Office 365, there is this one certain feature that I like. Okay, maybe some of you knows about this already, but for some who doesn't know about this, I'd like to share this. Okay, so for example, I'd like to select here a theme for my presentation. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to maybe this one. Yeah, this one is good. Right, fruits here by Anna. Now here in this part, you can go ahead and try to change the variation of the colors. I mean the theme of the color, right? So when you select a certain theme here, this option here for variants will allow you to change the color, or I mean the theme or the color theme. Okay, so let's try to change this. I like it on blue. Okay, like that. Wow. Now, okay, this thing keeps on popping in. Most of us guys don't use this feature, but if you have the latest version for Microsoft PowerPoint, I suggest you use this feature. And this is here, the design ideas, right? So this can be found here in the design tab, in the quick ribbon menu, and then here, design ideas. Okay, so what this thing does is when you click on that, if you happen to notice, there's like a pane on the right side that comes out. And what's the good thing about this is that this design ideas under designer, okay, will allow you to automatically format each slide, okay, depending on the content or maybe the text written on it, right? So if you happen to notice, it gave me a lot of suggestions about fruits, right? Most of the suggestions here talks about fruits. Okay. It is because this designer ideas or the design ideas tries to understand the text inside a certain slide. So for this sake, I'd like to change this to, let's just say, fruits, right? No, I like this one, right? Oranges. Wow. Okay, so if you try to understand, I did not upload it or pasted a picture from anywhere. Okay, it's just that PowerPoint generated that photo from me. So the question is, can we use design ideas even without internet? The answer is no. Design ideas will only work for most recent versions, Office 365 and Microsoft 2016, and also especially if you have internet connection. Okay. Most of the Microsoft applications are revamped. They have added functionalities for users who would like to, create automatic tasks, right? Like this, Microsoft PowerPoint has design ideas, right? So what you normally would like to do after creating a title slide, next to that is you need to create here a section header, right? That's what should always follows. Okay, not unless if you would like to add like some kind of a preface or agenda maybe, or table of contents. Okay, but in formality, after a title slide, we add the section header. For this time, let's add section header. So here, since we would like to talk about fruits, I'd like to talk about or maybe let's talk about the agenda first, or the topics, right? Topics. So let us know some delicious fruits. Okay, let's try and do that. Okay, so let's try to go ahead and use the subheader and then create a subheader after the title. So again, if you try to notice, it's like it's all white, it's blank. So if you wanted to format or pre-format this the way you wanted, it depends on you. Okay, but I'd like to make it simple, so it would look like that. Okay, so again, topics is a subheader of this title slide, right? So next is, since we would like to talk about topics first, I'd like to go ahead and add a title and a content. Okay, so here, if you happen to notice, there are two text boxes. One is, I believe they are both rectangles, but one is the smaller one, and then the other one is the bigger one. Okay, now since this is the title, it means that this box right here is the title for this bigger box. So since we would like to talk about the agenda or the topics, I would like to put here topics, right? Meaning that this particular title and content slide pertains to the topics subsection or subheader. Okay. Now here, on the bigger text box, we will put the topics part of this presentation. So let's name some fruits, right? So let's start with apple. What's next? Apple, you have cherry, you have lemon, mango, pineapple, right? Pineapple. Yeah, so let's have 5 fruits now. Okay. Now again, if you happen to notice, it's just very light and it's just very simple. Again, you can have it the way like that. Okay. I also suggest, by the way, it says right here, for an effective PowerPoint presentation, okay, don't make your font size really, really small. Okay. Maybe in your eyesight it is, fit to read, right? But if you're using, let's just say, a projector, and then it's kind of really small, right? It will give your readers some hard time to read. Okay, and that sometimes results to, dissatisfaction with the presentation, right? Thing is, okay, Microsoft presentation isn't dedicated to make narratives on it, so you don't put a lot of words. Okay, a few words would be best in making your presentation. So since when I look at here, it's font 28, I'd like to increase the font size, for my readers to easily read the topics, right? Okay. Now, what I would like to do here is, let's just try if design ideas would give me, an idea on how I could maybe improve this title and content slide. Let's see. Okay, so actually give me quite a few options, right? So, yep. Here you have the topics. Maybe okay, so maybe let's have this as the let's just say, yep, here for the subsection. I guess that's, pretty good, right? And then let's try to increase the font size. Increasing. There we go. Very well. So it looks pretty simple, right? So, and also I suggest when you try to put in something on the presentation, the simple the better. Okay. Because if you put everything on your Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, you don't give yourself a chance to, to say something, right? It's like everything is written on your presentation and you will become useless. Okay, now let's continue. Now, we are done with the title and the content, and this is the title and the content under the subheader topics. So let's try to add a subheader for Apple. Okay, so let's do that. So new slide, and then here. So you have section, you have Apple, right? By the way, if this is already pre-formatted, okay, like the font, the font size, like everything, right? For example, slide number 2 is already pre-formatted. What you can do is you can duplicate the slide. Instead of adding a new one, going to new slide and then go to section header, I would suggest you just duplicate the section header like this. So right click on that slide you want to duplicate, and then go all the way down to duplicate slide. Click on that. Okay, and as you can see, there are now 2 subheader slide that talks about topics, right? But we are going to edit the 3rd one. So all you need to do is to move this all the way right before slide number 5, right? Or maybe all the way down, depends on you. So since this, slide section number 2 and slide subheader number 4 are just the same. We can change this one. So let's talk about apple. Very well. So let's change. Let us know some facts about an apple. Very well. Okay. Now, since we would like to talk about facts about an apple, what we need to do next is, again, if we are to talk about a certain topic from your presentation, let's go ahead and add title and content, and then from here I'm gonna go ahead and then put apple. Okay. It is always better to put the topic on the title part of the title and content slide. Why? Most of us disregard this part right here, but this actually gives the audience an idea on which part you are already on your presentation, right? So everybody won't get lost because you don't put the details or the topic on the body, right? You always put that on the title box or the text box, this one right here. Okay. Okay, very well. Now, since we would like to talk about apple, maybe we could search something about apple. So let's talk about apple here. So let's pull up a browser. Let's pull up on pull up Google and then search for apple here. Okay, and go to images. And then what I would like to look is this one. Wow. Very delicious, right? Apple. So we could go ahead and copy the image, and go back here in your Microsoft presentation. Then you can just paste it anywhere. Okay, paste. Now, if you again happen to notice, design ideas keeps on popping out, right? Because if you're connected to the internet, Microsoft PowerPoint will try to give you a templated format out from the text you have inputted on a certain slide. So since I have wrote down here apple, and then I also pasted a photo of an apple, it gave me most of the options talks about apple, right? Wow. Whoa, oh, wow, I like this one, but the color is purple, so maybe, yeah, let's try this for the sake. Wow, there we go. So you know what, if you try to observe, I haven't done any sophisticated advanced skills, right? Well, just entirely because of the help of design ideas, right? Okay. Now also, if you happen to notice, the second box, which is dedicated for the body, disappeared, right? So let's try to put that back by undoing. Okay, so you hit Control Z, and then let's try to put a few text right here. So let's go back on Google. Let's try to search something about an apple, right? So apple fruit. Okay, apple fruit. There we go. So let's see. Okay, so here let's try to copy and paste this. By the way, I do not really suggest to take things from from this website. It is because everything here can be edited by someone, right? So I mean, for me also, I totally discourage my students to make this as their references for their answers, right? I totally I don't really suggest that, right? So but for the sake of this presentation, let's go ahead and take this. Okay, and then let's go back here, and then you paste it. Okay, so if you happen to notice, we have the text on the body, we have the title, and we have the picture of an apple. So let's try to go back to design ideas. You click design ideas, and then let's see. Okay, So it gave us a different kind of a suggestion, right? I'd like to. Which one is nice here? Maybe this one, right? Or this one. This one. Or maybe this one. I like this one. Okay, there we go. Now again, as a, as part of the key points of doing some presentation, um, if font sizes are too small, try to make it bigger. Okay, so let's try to select all, and then let's try to increase the font size, right? Enough for the reader to read the text on your presentation. And let's try to justify this. Okay, so it looks, pretty much aligned, right? So, again, if you try to go back here, there are actually a lot of description or meaning about an apple fruit. But what I want you to do is I want you to take a very, very few words about a certain topic you would like to put on your PowerPoint presentation. Again, this is the only time so that you can give, the rest of the effort to yourself, right? Okay, so let's try to, pretend that this will be the last topic and we will try to end the presentation. So since we don't need this, let's try to delete this one. So again, guys, if you try to add the rest of the topics about cherry, about lemon, mango, and pineapple, you can just duplicate these, right? So let's try another one. Right click, duplicate, right? So it duplicated slides 4 and 5, and then here. So I'll go ahead and change this one to cherry. Okay, let's know some facts about a cherry. Okay, and then here we can change the photo. So let's go back to Google, and then let's try to cherry fruit. And then let's try to go ahead and, okay, this one is nice. Which one here? Maybe this one. No, that's actually quite too big. By the way, when you want to download or put like photo something on the presentation, do not forget to take a look at the size of the photo. Okay, and how would how would you know that? It's very simple. You try to hover the mouse to that photo, and you will see here, okay, the size of that photo. This is really important. It is because when you paste something and then try to expand the photo, it gets pixelated. So it is really important for you to know the size of the picture, so you would know it if it fits with a slide. So this one is way too big. Maybe this one. Maybe this one. Nope. I guess this one is okay. I guess this one is fine. That's 1200 by 1200. Let's copy the image, and then let's go back here, and then you can go ahead and delete the photo of the apple, and then you paste it. Simple as that. Okay, so don't forget to remove the photo of the apple, and then you paste the new one. Okay, now what the Microsoft PowerPoint is doing now, it is trying to take that photo out from the web. That's why it looks like that. And then let's go back here. If you happen to notice, it gave us some design ideas. So let's try to have it exactly the same way and how slide number 5 looks like. So let's go ahead and click the first one here, and this is the cherry. Okay, that's good. Let's close this, and then let's change the title, cherry, and then let's go ahead and change the content, cherry here. So maybe this one. Again, I do not recommend taking things from these. Okay. So, okay, but it's really way too small. Let's go ahead and increase the font size enough for the readers to read it, and then you try to justify it so it scales to both left and right corners, right? Okay, so we have now the picture of a cherry, the name of the fruit, and then also a little bit of its description. Okay, now let's pretend that we got all these topics covered and we would like to try to end the presentation. Again, if you are to present a very, very simple presentation, try to make the number of slides least as possible. Okay, so let's try to go ahead and add the ending slide. So you might be wondering which here would be the ending slide. Okay, I highly suggest you use section header and putting the word end or goodbye and thank you, depends on you. Okay, so thank you for listening. Okay, like that. So very simple. So we got now, a very simple presentation about fruits by Anna. Okay, topics. You have the subheader. Okay, and you also have here apple subsection, the title and the content, and then the cherry, and then end. So you might be wondering why we just use 3 of these type of slides, right? You can also use to content comparison. It depends on you, because if you want to compare 2 photos at the same time, you use to content, or I'm sorry, the comparison. For 2 content, that means that you can have an image on the left and a text on the right. You can have text on the right and text on the left, or you can have photo of both sides. Okay, the difference between 2 content and a comparison is that 2 content has 3 text boxes. Okay, so you have the title. Hold on. So new. Okay, you have just the title, and you have 1, 2, and 3. So you have 3 text boxes, right? For comparison, you have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is because on these 2 smaller boxes in between, this is the part to where you can add the title of that certain thing you would like to compare. Okay, all right, very well. So once you're done creating your presentation in a very flat format, that is the perfect time for you to create transitions, right? So I suggest you do transitions first before animation. Now, question is, what is the difference between transitions and animations? Transitions deals with the effects you can apply, you can do to every slides part of your presentation. Well, animation deals with what are the things you want to move to animate inside a slide. Okay, so again, transitions deals with the slides. Okay, animation deals with what is our inside, or the inside of the slide, or each slide. Okay, so I suggest you go first with transitions. So let's go click transitions, and then from here you can select bunch of transitions. Okay, so if you want to know the effect of a certain transition, just simply go ahead and click that. There we go. Looks like that. Fade, you have push. Okay, here you have wipe, you have split, you have reveal, you have cut. Okay, and there's actually a lot here. If you try to drop it down, there's actually a lot. I also suggest, by the way, when selecting transitions, don't select that very, I would say, over transition or over animated transition, right? I'll give you a few. Maybe this one, vortex. Yeah, that's actually way too sophisticated, right? When you're to present a business presentation and then you add that kind of transition, it doesn't really connect with what you're trying to show with your presentation, right? So I suggest, though, you select a very good transition for all of your slides. For me, I like very simple transitions. Let's just say I like this one. Was it fade? Transitions, and then I like this one. Cover. Yep, this one. It's just very simple, right? So here, okay. If you want to apply transitions to all of the slides, just one transition to all slides, you select the very first slide here, and then or any or any of the slides, then you select that transition. So I'd like uncover, and then you hit apply to all. Okay, so every slides here on this presentation gets that kind of uncover transition. Now here in this part, you will see advanced slides, right? Most of us don't actually, make use of this. But if you want to take control of your presentation, you just need to make sure, that the on mouse click is already checked. That means that everything takes by your command. When you want to move from, slide number 2 to slide number 3, you do mouse click. Okay. It's not really necessary to click the mouse, but when you try to perform a command like hitting space, hitting the arrow button, hitting the enter button, if you have that Bluetooth, I forget the name of that stick that we normally use to, present, that has that laser, the red laser light, and then it's connected via Bluetooth, right? We use that, or most of presenters use that, yeah. And then we set the advanced slide to on mouse click. But if you want to, move the slide even without, clicking something, okay, all you need to do is to uncheck the on mouse click and then go after. And then here it talks about the seconds, okay, of when to move to the next slide after a certain number of seconds, right? So that's pretty much it. When you're done with this, okay, let's try to hit back on mouse click. Again, don't forget to apply all. So everything that you do here applied to all slides. Okay, so click apply, and then let's try to go back here. Let's try to go ahead and see if it took place. Okay, if you want to start a presentation all the way from the top, you hit F5 like this. So pressing F5 now. Okay, here we go. So even no matter which part I click here, even if I am on slide number 6, and when I hit F5 on my keyboard, it always goes back to the first slide. But if you want to start if you want to start the presentation on a certain slide, okay, for example, let's select slide number 5, and I want to start a slideshow from this slide. All you need to do rather, on your keyboard is to hit Shift and then F5. Shift F5. There you go. It won't go back to the very first slide. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, between F5 and Shift F5. Okay, now let's see if the transition took place. So let's go ahead and make the slideshow. So let's click the mouse. Okay, that's good. Topics, that's good. Okay, that's good. There you go. Carry, and then end. Very well. There you go. That is nice. So we got the transition over. Let's go ahead and try to add animations. Okay, so this time we are going to deal with one slide, or the things inside the slide. But for the sake of this webinar, let's go ahead and deal with slide number 3. Okay, but you can have everything on your presentation animated the way you've wanted. But again, I suggest, okay, don't make it over animated, because it doesn't really, fit with what you are trying to do. Okay, so this time let's go ahead and try to click on animations. If you happen to notice, everything here is grayed out. Okay, like no matter how I try to click nothing really happens. It is because I haven't selected a certain part on the slide. So you try to observe when I click on this text box. Now everything here, okay, can be clicked. So that means, okay, we need to click something first inside the slide before we can do animations. And for you to make it easier, I suggest you go ahead and try to pull up animation pane. Okay, you click animation pane comes in, and if you try to notice, it's all blank because again you haven't added a single animations yet. So I suggest for an effective presentation, you go ahead and choose, a very simple animation. Let's try to use, let's see, fade, fly in. Okay, let's try to use fly in. And if you happen to notice, there is a number here, 1. That means, okay, in a certain order, title or this box right here will go first before anything else. And if you happen to notice, it gives us the symbol of a mouse. That means this is on mouse click. Okay, so question, can we make it automatic? Yes. Okay, all you need to do is you right click on that and then you change it from here, start with previous or start after previous. When you say start with previous, is that the moment the previous slide ends up, this animation will start right away. Okay, but it doesn't just really concern with the animation, it also concerns with the transition. If your transition is set to on mouse click, nothing for your animation will really take place. So you need to make sure that the transition also is set on automatic or start with previous, right? Okay, very well. So let's try to go ahead and add some animations on apple, cherry, lemon, mango, and pineapple. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's try float in. Yeah, I like float in. Wow, very well. So here, now I have added float in, and if you happen to notice, we got here numbers 1 for topics, number 2 for cherry, number 3, 2 for apple, 3 for cherry, 4 for lemon, 5 for mango, and 6 for pineapple. That is the order of your texts that are going to be animated. Okay, so let's go ahead and show or start a slideshow from this slide, slide number 5. So hit shift and then F5, and then since everything were set to on mouse click, I need to command the presentation by clicking the mouse or something on the keyboard. Okay, so let's click. Here we go, topics. So let's talk about apple, cherry, lemon, mango, pineapple. There we go. So very well. So everything here went by my command. And also you can go ahead and change the animation the way you've wanted, right? So again, if you want this to start with the previous slide, that can be fine. Okay, so if you want everything will take place without having you click on something, you change this, okay, with previous or after previous. Okay, very well. So let's try to go back here. Now, part of an effective PowerPoint slides is, again, you use design templates. Earlier, we just learned design ideas. Next is you need to standardize position, colors, and styles. What it means is that most of us is that when we were given with a certain template, we try to, tweak the size of the boxes. Okay, and that, for me though, when you do that on one particular slide, you will become inconsistent with all of your slides. Okay, the reason why we are trying to, not to change any of those positions is that whenever you try to change slides, okay, it will look very, very the same. Okay, so as to the colors and the styles. Next is you have to limit the information to essentials only. Okay. Again, this is to give your chance. I mean, to give yourself a chance to say something, right? Now, content should be self-evident. Okay, and then you need to use colors that contrast, just like this one, very well. Okay, the background is white, the font color should be black, but it should not be like that. The point of contrasting colors is that brightness, I mean light versus dark. If your background is dark, the font text or the text should be light, and vice versa. Okay, that's the point of contrasting colors, light versus dark or dark versus light. Now, you need to be consistent, like in the effects, transitions, and animations, right? There are some PowerPoint presentations to where on slide number 2, you use a different set of transition and animation. On slides number 3, 4, 5, you use a different set of effects, transitions, and animation. It doesn't really look nice. Okay, it looks so annoying. Okay, but in most presentations, they just use very, very light or a very simple transition and animation too. Okay, excessive slides can lose your audience. That's what I'm telling about, right? If you're trying to present something, make it very, very short. I guess 10 to 15 slides will be fine. Well, again, it always depends on the certain presentation or the type of presentation you are up to and the type of information you want to deliver. Okay, but again, you always keep it short and simple. Okay, keep it short and simple. Now, for the text guidelines, you need to stay under 6 words per line. I would say average will be 6 to 7 words per line. Okay, that's per line. Okay, you also need to stay under 6 lines per slide. Most of the slides I've seen is that they try to force or they try to put everything fit together in a certain box, and then everything looks very, very small. When there is no enough space, you try to push the rest or half of it to the next slide, as long as it won't compromise the sizes of the font. Next is you need to avoid long sentences, right? Again, long sentences. This is what we normally do, especially if there is a certain term and then we try to put a description on it. Thing is that we put everything there and then we just tend to read it. That's a problem. I mean, obviously your listeners can read, right? So don't read everything, and for you to avoid reading everything, don't put everything. Simple as that. Now, next is larger font indicates important information. When putting your words and lines on every slides, okay, please don't I would say make use of the space by making the font just right fit for a reader to read. Most of the times if we use long sentences, it ends up making the font so small and then gives us hard time to read it. Okay, the font size ranges from 18 to 48. Maximum will be 48, and what I did here is that the maximum is just 48, just like this one. Okay, and also you need to be sure the text contrasts with background. See, that's what happens if the background is lighter and then the text is lighter. It will really give you some hard time to read it. The same as is the background. If the background is darker and then the text is also darker, and then it will really give you some hard time. Fancy fonts are hard to read. If it will be your first time to use Microsoft presentation, we sometimes, get pretty, excited in using all font styles, and then it ends up making it too fancy, and then it ends up making it really harder to read. Okay. Also, all caps are hard to read, but there are some cases to where we need to use all caps, especially like abbreviation or things that are really meant to be all caps. Okay. Avoid abbreviations and acronyms. In most cases, yes. All right, but what do we mean by this is that you just don't put an abbreviation right away or an acronym right away. You need to put the meaning of that abbreviation or that acronym. Okay? It is because there are some audiences who doesn't really know that abbreviation. You might think that most of them knows this, but what if there's 1, 2, or 3 people who don't know this abbreviation? Okay. Next is you need to limit punctuation marks. Just like that. It's actually way too over. Right. Limit punctuation marks and then you have like 5 exclamation points. You know, in our terms here, in our culture, the more means, the more intense you would like to, indicate something. Like if you want to put like 5 exclamation points, it means that you're really, really angry. You're really, really mad. No, it's not like that. 1 exclamation point is just enough to say that there is, a conviction on that certain phrase, right? Next, bulleting. Now, bulleting gives you structure or organization to slides. This is really effective if you try to list something, if you try to enumerate something. And then again, the same, limit to 6 bullets per slide. Make bullets visible, 18 to 24 font. Don't make it really, really too small. Okay. Limit each bullet to 6 words, just like what we've discussed about the text earlier. And then contrast the text with the background. Now, for the animation, don't get carried away. In most people, especially if there's, if that is their first time, they get carried away. And then they end up using a very fancy animation that takes like about a minute before it drops to its position. Okay. Restriction animation to certain slides. Use animation for special emphasis, right? Like figures. If you're trying to highlight something, I suggest you use animations for that. Now, animations can demonstrate how something works. For example, life cycle, a cycle or an equation. It would be, really much help if you use animation to demonstrate that cycle or that equation. Okay, it may really, cost you a lot of effort, but I really suggest if you are presenting really important, okay, and you try to demonstrate something, and especially the process and how it works, you use animation for that. Now, excessive animation looks childish. This is what I'm talking about, right? These also apply to sound effects. And also, guys, again, you can add sound effects to your PowerPoint presentation. Now, you have clip art and graphics. For clip art, you should balance the slide. You don't put clip arts or graphics like everywhere, and you're just about to see one part of your text. No, that's a no. Okay, so the fewer the better, but also you need to balance the clip art. You need to enhance and complement with the text. Okay, so for example, if let's just say the color of the text is red and then your clip art is blue, no, I guess it's a very no. Again, you try to complement the graphics or the clip art to the text. Okay, use when text needs visual explanation, right? Not every text are really effective to explanation, right? There are some audiences that likes to see it in the form of photo and sounds, right? So I also suggest you use clip arts and graphics in trying to present something that you think is effective to be shown using clip arts and graphics. Okay, you need to limit to 2 graphics per slide. I couldn't really imagine though if you have like 20 clip arts and graphics per slide. That's actually too childish. Okay. Now, now you need to remember this. Okay, slideshows aren't your presentation. You are your presentation. Okay. You can always present even without a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. It is just a tool. Okay. And you use your PowerPoint as an outline. Okay. It's like, the thing that you are using to discuss some important key points on your presentation in front of your audience. But then again, slideshows aren't your presentation, and you are the presentation. Also, don't read the verbatim from your PPT or PowerPoint. Okay, because if that is the case, you might want to go ahead and try to ask one of your audience to read it on your behalf. Okay, so that actually ends the presentation for Microsoft. Okay, I hope that everything here, from the design, transitions, and animations, also with the effective presentation of your Microsoft presentation, helped you. Okay, and I also suggest one thing from my personal experience. You do it as much as you can. Okay, every time you do it over and over again, that will help you get better in doing something. Okay, and I have also learned that you need to be a very good presenter so you can deliver your thought to someone. If you're trying to present a business proposal to someone, no matter how good are you when it comes to your specific profession, and then at the same time you really don't have that very good skills in presenting your presentation, it will still be a losing factor for you, right? So when you want to practice, or if you want to upskill yourself in creating Microsoft PowerPoint presentation, you also upskill yourself in presenting that Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. So I'd like to say thank you for listening, and I wish to see you in the future. Thank you so much, and you have a very good day.